So a big good morning to you, Amanda.
Good morning, Donald. Thank you for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. I mean, this was booked like a good, at least 6 weeks ago.
Yes, indeed.
It seems so far away and it seemed as if it would never happen, but here we are.
Yes.
You've only got to put a date in the diary and all of a sudden you're there, no matter how far in the year it is.
Exactly.
You know?
Time goes so quickly though. I know it was far away, but it did speed up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot have gone on in your life in between time. You've been such a busy person, and the same on my side, you know.
Yes.
But yeah, we're here this morning to talk to you about one and two things. And I just gotta say, real big thank you for participating in the Forgotten Generations project going forward. So without delaying, I'm just gonna go in to ask you to tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay, so my background, I'm born in Barnet, and I grew up in Northwest London. Heritage is West African. My dad came over from Nigeria and my mother from Ghana. And yeah, and I grew up in Brent, lived in South London, and back in Brent again. And my background in terms of work is writing and community education work.
Okay. First of all, I'm loving your surname, Heap. I mean, it's just so short and sweet.
My what?
Your surname.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They don't have to. It's so short, but they didn't have to pronounce it like this.
Right. So how do you pronounce it?
Well, if you had an accent on the last E, it will help, and it will. Then the people know it's Epe because it goes.
Okay.
E has become a. The E is pronounced as an A. Yeah, that would be a French word meaning sword, but Nigeria is traditional Nigerian surname.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for
and in Malaysia and a few other countries as well. German, I think, as well.
Oh, right. So there's quite a mix there.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah. So why did you become interested in aviation?
I didn't really think I was going to be interested in aviation. I love your pictures in the background, by the way. I used to be frightened of planes, in fact.
You were?
Yeah, and technophobic, all kind of technology, like learning to drive, everything like that. But I worked for an airline. I worked for British Airways back in the day. And that's how I started getting interested in, well, I wrote a book, my first memoir called Fly Girl Travel Tales. And that's how, after that, I started getting interested in aviation stories. Right. And slowly, I'm looking at flights and looking at planes and
wow,
learning more information.
Basically, I mean, we've just jumped quite a few years there and say, yeah, you work for British Airways, but I'm sure going back, you know, like school years and sort of teenage years and everything, there must have been some sort of interest in going forward in what you're going to do. So is that very different to what you're doing now, you know?
I finally arrived at what I want to do. So in school years, I knew that I loved writing and community work, to be kind of maybe a social worker or something like that. And then I thought I was going to be a journalist, but maybe confidence and maybe going down different pathways and not being focused, I kind of sidelined. And then I started to write slowly for magazines and anthologies. And then I finally now can call myself a writer. So wow, I got to the destination in the end. But then again, I wouldn't have got there without all these experiences, because what would I write about? So.
Absolutely. And it's fantastic, you know, when you achieve something like that. I mean, there's so many questions in my head, like, you know, what was it like to, when your book was first launched, you know? I mean,
that is like, as women would say when they have a baby, that is like my baby. I'm so proud of it. when I hold it in my hand and I thought, what produced this? I mean, the journey is wonderful, writing, because I like writing for therapeutic purposes, or several purposes I like to write for. But when I finally had it in my hand, I thought, yeah, you've done it. You finally written a book.
Brilliant. So after that sort of, well, magnificent everything, how has it gone on the book from there? Has it sort of halfway or three-quarter way fulfill your expectation of what it's going to bring to the public?
Well, yes, it has helped a lot of people. It's inspired other writers. I get a lot of people questioning, how did I do it? through the independent journey route, because it's quite difficult for anybody, let alone a person of color, to get published. And I've had a lot of workshops helping other people in the community, women and diverse groups to start writing, and some people have published their books. What else? Yeah, it's been a long journey. It's been 2014 since I first wrote that book. And then I was like, people say, when are you going to write your next book? And I wasn't going to, in fact, until I had lots of time in my hand during lockdown, and I got number 2 and 3 out. They're all quite small, but I still managed to get 2 and 3 books out now.
So really, I know there's a lot of negatives as far as COVID is concerned, lockdown and all that. Well, there are some positives as well.
Yeah, like you were saying before, you can turn a lot of negatives into positives, yes.
I always believed in that. And a lot of times we don't recognize what the positives are from those negatives because they're not always obvious.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Yeah. And they say one door closes, another one opens. So we've got to be there to actually go through those doors when they're open for us. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so the experience of writing a book and a second book and a third book, well, that's quite some achievement, isn't it, really?
Yeah, so I managed to tick it off my bucket list, the things I want to do in life. Well, that was the third book. The third book was a children's book. They're all aviation, so that was titled Fly Girls, and it's about female aviation pioneers, starting with Bessie Coleman. We have to salute her for, you know, all that she went through.
Sorry, can you repeat that name for me?
Bessie Coleman.
Okay.
Bessie Coleman, the aviator in America. So growing up in segregation, and then she managed to get a pilot license, and she had to travel to France to do that.
Wow.
So I hailed her, and then 2 living people, because sometimes we forget people who are alive. So
indeed,
inspired children with 2 new names. Yeah.
And that's a really good statement you've made there. That's a big part of the Forgotten Generations project, which I developed. Get people to speak while they're alive and tell their story, like you are doing.
Yeah, you know? Thank you for asking me to do this. Like me, I just like, how come I have to speak? I don't think I've got much to say, but then now we're having a conversation, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is so, when I read about you, I'm thinking, wow, you know, there's so much there to tell. And because we are people, and people of color, as you say, the Forgotten Generations is highlighting, educating the public, but especially our younger generations, to say that we've actually contributed to history, to freedom, and we continue to do so. And there are role models like you out there who they can follow, you know, and learn from. So this is all wrapped up in all of this. So talking about aviator and aviation, are you an aviator yourself in terms of being able to fly an aircraft or anything like that?
No, my wish. No. Actually, no, I said I'm technophobic, but I think it's quite fun to go up in the air. So my alter ego is a fly girl. So I've had a lot of flying experience, a few flying experiences. So I've flown a helicopter lesson.
Oh, really?
And yeah, just recently, a few months ago, I flew a biplane, the Tiger Moth.
Wow.
It was just good, because also I do films, and I'm writing out about pioneers and people who've flown these aircrafts. So just nice, as you write, to just get the experience of what they went through. So.
Do you know, that's so commendable. And, you know, you're talking about flying, which is, I'm not even going to say anything, because, you know, it's totally...
You've been all over the place, isn't it? Aircrafts, military aircrafts.
Yes. So, you know, it's a massive story by itself there. So what was it like being a technophobe, or, you know, when you first went up into a helicopter? What was that like?
Oh, the noise. And yeah, we have a briefing and there's a lot of instruction, but I did a bit of pre-reading, so that helped.
Yeah.
The nerves were there and the adrenaline was kicking in as well, because I'm going to do this finally. It's something that I looked at in childhood when I used to watch cop programs and thinking, I want to do that one day. So it was exciting, frightening, but they show you a briefing. We watch it on screen, what's going to happen, and understand the little cockpit. So that helped, yeah.
Brilliant. And how does that compare with the Tiger Moth? Did you say you went up in?
Yeah, the Tiger Moth was a lot different, because open air. I think even more frightening, because And yeah, you're given the control and you're in the seat by yourself and your instructor, your co-pilot is behind you. So you've got no one to turn around and look to.
Oh, so you at the front?
Yeah, so in the front. I didn't know it was going to be in the front. I thought maybe side by side or something like that. So it's a double two-seater and you're in the front. And from the moment I went up, I wanted to come down immediately. Right.
You wanted to come down?
Yes, I think, how does Bessie Coleman, Amy Johnson, all these pioneer women, how did they do this? And people who flew in the war as well.
Wow, wow, wow. And just talking about that, I mean, you know, you see the aircraft behind me there. That is a fast jet Jaguar.
On the left?
Yes, the big picture, I guess that's to which, yeah, is that to your left? The big picture with the pilot coming out the end of it.
Yeah.
That is a single seat fast jet aircraft.
Oh.
With things like ejector seat and all this sort of thing, and totally different world. I would absolutely love for you to experience that.
Really? Would I get an opportunity to do that?
Very difficult because of, you know, it is difficult, I have to say, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
Because in life, you know, things are possible even though they may seem impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a completely different experience.
I really have to prep myself up, brace myself, everything. Take some counseling before I go into that, if I ever do.
Yeah. Even to go on a base where they've got these things, just even taxiing around, or you're able to go and sit in one. Mm-hmm. Like you probably have seen Mr. Jarrett, I don't know, I will release that shortly. Okay. At 98, going in and out of the cockpit.
He's amazing, really. Oh my God.
And I've got to release it. Yeah, it's powerful, and it's the same aircraft that Tom Cruise was sat in weeks before, right?
Oh, for that second film, yeah.
Yeah. So I will release that because we that's coming out on the group very, very shortly. Mm-hmm. So things like that. But anyway, today's about you. So without looking at what you are doing today, and I understand that you are doing a project on African and Caribbean personnel of World War II. Do you want to tell us something more about that? Yeah,
so I won't say too much because.
All right.
I'll say a little bit about it, but no spoilers. So we're doing Aviate. It's about aviators. Well, most of the things I do is about aviators, so that's the central character. But also we're going to have two other characters from the Caribbean who were part of the Windrush story. So it's a Windrush story, really, and also what the African and Caribbean men have contributed to World War II.
Right.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. And there's so much. And, you know, you obviously done your research and done a lot.
That's been a process as well. I mean, I normally do things quite fast, but there's so much to learn and what goes in and what's going to be taken off. And so I've been reading about this for almost a year and discussing with historians.
Yeah, brilliant. And I believe you're a member. Are you a member of the Forgotten Generations? Are you actually a member?
I haven't signed up to be a member.
Right. It'd be great.
Yes.
And I'm saying that because I update members once a month because I put a lot of stuff. And if you are more than welcome to go on my website and dig in because there's so much there. Yeah. You know, and the whole point of the website is for people like yourself who are trying to expose and tell these stories, and also to educate the masses, you know, from schools to churches to whatever organization. So I'll be happy for you to just dig in because there's a lot of information there, you know, taking it forward. And so when are you hoping that this is all going to come to fruition?
So we're right in the middle of it right now, and pre-production stage. So this month, I think we complete, and hopefully October we should release it. Yeah.
Wow. There's another first. Like when you did your first book and all that. How apprehensive are you about this? Or is it going well, or you know, because it's always hard work.
So it's not first. I've done one before, and that's what triggered me to do this film. Short film. So the first one was Amy Johnson, but it's very, very short. This is going to be short as well, but this is going to be double the time. That was one. actress. So now it's, yeah, so I find it quite challenging because you had to get a whole casting call and to get people to be all available on the same day, and
Right.
the venue, the costumes.
So what are you in all of this? What are you in all of this? What are you classed as, the director, as the producer, or is it all multifunctional
Yeah, I
role?
think for once I'm one of those women that can multitask. I'm producing, I'm directing, I wrote it. But without everybody's help, I wouldn't be able to have done this, really. So you just ask one person in the community, ask somebody here, they help pull out actresses and actors for you. And a lot of people have been giving me research and, lots of pointing directions for me. So it's not just me, really.
That's quite a learning curve, isn't it?
A lot. It's a lot. I've learned a lot. It's brilliant, especially the research as well.
Yeah.
Taking me to different angles, and you think, like, oh, so much history that we haven't been taught.
Yes, absolutely. And I even have a research page on my website as well now. So, that's, people want to upload stuff that they think is going to be good for the public. Just send it to me and I'll upload it onto my website.
Right.
Yeah. And that research is actually linked to universities, etc., other people who are doing research. So I'm trying to make this a very, very useful tool, so that people don't have to search too far, especially the younger generations.
Yeah.
Schools, and people think about Black history and think it's 1 month of the year. It's every day of the year.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And because also this project covers British and African Caribbean islands, now we're now getting links to, I had a link to Zambia, an unbelievable interview I did with this gentleman. What is revealed about the subject you're talking about there, World War II soldiers. I'm saying soldiers because it was mainly soldiers back in those days. Unbelievable. That will be going on my website very shortly. And I'll show you that. I mean, he actually took me around his museum on his phone. And then we did an interview after that. So
it has a digital museum, or is it a on-ground physical museum?
Physical.
Oh, okay. And
the artifacts and the stories, because he actually interviewed a lot of, when I say interview, he talked to a lot of soldiers who are unfortunately no longer around, but he's actually spoken to them, visited them, and got evidence of, being with them. So he's doing something similar to you, but it's a book version.
Okay.
And it's very deep, very deep.
That must have taken a lot of time, a lot of research.
But it's been 10 years in the making.
Of course.
And he actually owns the museum and everything about the museum. So, when things like that comes on the website, there's a part of your research right there.
Yeah.
Because, all the British Caribbean, all the British African countries that I want to cover, there's similar stories, but different according to you as an individual and your experience. So it'll be interesting to see what you're bringing out to the forefront, to actually educate the public as to, because we all look at it at a different angle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So many ways to tell a tale, isn't it? To tell a story.
Absolutely. And the fact that we are telling our own tales as well, because we a lot of times expect people to tell tales for us, and if they're telling the story, they will change it to their own narrative. Yeah. So
that's the advantage of the digital world now. We couldn't do this before. So independent publishing, channels online for YouTube, Vimeo, different apps, so that you can put your stuff out there, publish your things to the world.
And that's so commendable, because you said you published your own book, did you?
Yes. I mean, I didn't really look for, it's difficult to get an agent. I know the route to do it, but I don't know if it's not patient, but I knew I can do this as well. I can do this by myself. I'm kind of a DIY person. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you sound as if you're very, very focused and dedicated and want to put your mind to something.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
Which
No
is
matter how long
essential.
it takes, when I've got the idea and I'm going to do it, I run with it. We'll
Wow.
get there in the end.
Yeah. The title is Flying to Britain. Share with us some details of that. I think you've done that already, in that you don't want to go too far into anything. But is there anything else that you want to share from that without spoiling any spoilers?
No, there isn't really anything else to share. Just watch the space. Watch the space.
Watch his space. So, what about the one you did before? Is that something that I'm able to put on my website for you?
Okay, yeah, that would be good. That'd be handy. So that could help the young people, especially Black children. So I collaborated with a young man from my borough, and his name is Rashid Graham, and he became a pilot. And teachers said that he's never going to become a pilot. You know, you don't represent. It's an elitist profession. But he was so determined as a child, and his mother really helped him. And he joined the RAF, in fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he joined the RAF, and then he got a scholarship. And then during COVID, his scholarship was cancelled. They couldn't afford to continue training him.
Yes.
But he came on the BBC on a program called Panorama, and the whole country got behind him. So here's another story of turning negatives into positive, and
yes,
they supported, and he completed his commercial pilot training. And yeah, so that's a really good news story. And we joined together and wrote a book called Fly High. And so that book's to encourage children to get into aviation careers, whether it's a pilot or flight attendant, cabin crew.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's quite a story by itself.
It is, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. So another thing that I'll do for you is put your books on my book. I've got a book page. And the books pages are linked directly to Amazon. Just click on, you can go and buy. So if you were to send me the titles and pictures of your books, and I can upload those to my site as well.
Thank you so much.
Because that is a great story about a young person, whether it's male or female, who have such aspirations of doing things, and because of the tragedies in life, they were to be deprived of that, and to get the nation or the country, whoever, behind, that's quite a story, and that must be promoted.
Yes, thanks. Yeah.
Fantastic. So going forward into the future, then, is there anything else planned for the future? That,
you know what, since I've started this project on the war, I've watched so many war movies and books, and now I just feel like there's so many stories I want to tell, but that's what always happens. You just get full of ideas, but I have to stay focused and just get this on complete first and see what's next. I might even divert and go into something else, but I really am quite interested in the war. My family, like, how come we watching war stuff now? You never used to be like this.
Sorry, you say you're more interested into what? War stories?
Yeah.
Wow.
And me, I was completely, I never used to like them at all. I mean, I like action movies, but war was not my cup of tea, but yeah. Right.
So I don't know, background wise, you mentioned that Nigerian and Ghanaian, is that it?
Yeah.
And are you sort of culturally linked to both of them, or what, or none at all? I mean, is this
I don't know really. So I'll say more Pan-African, and I went to Nigeria first when I was 25.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
and what was that experience like?
Eye-opener. I didn't really, we didn't live in an area where there's more African communities. So yeah, it was quite different. It was lovely as well. It was a nice embracing to meet the family finally.
Yes.
To hear the language that was spoken in my house. To eat fresh, natural food. Live in the sunshine. Yeah, it was nice.
And are you versed in the language that you're not?
No.
Okay. So that was Nigeria.
Yes.
So
I have been to Ghana as well. I traveled there by road. So I was in Nigeria.
Road?
Yeah, I was in Nigeria, and I wanted to do an African tour. So we cut through Ivory Coast, and road trip all the way to Ghana, to Accra, and I stayed there for a few days.
Oh, that must have been an interesting journey going across.
Yeah, always got to make it more adventurous than just getting on the plane, going there, just see what.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is Africa. Goodness, wow. And I guess that was quite a distance, was it, in terms of days of traveling?
Yeah, it's a week's journey.
Yeah. So you've got a touch of your Nigerian roots and your Ghanaian roots.
Yes.
And is there like a preference, or is it just an overview of all of that?
No, overview of all one people.
One people, and I like that. And what I like about the story of what we're doing as well is that to bring people to the fore, yeah, Caribbean, African, whatever. Let's look at saying Black people, because we need to promote that. And what the media portrays is that we are second parties and third parties. And when you look at places like Africa, how rich Africa is, and yet what you see on TV are children with runny nose and you know, without shoes on their feet and everything. And yet there's so much in Africa that can overcome all of this.
Absolutely.
You know, and we've got the ability to actually turn that around.
Yes.
And make sure we look after our own.
Yes, of course.
You know, and change the narrative, you know. And if we don't do that, you know, people like yourself who's got such enthusiasm, then who's going to do it?
Exactly. As Chimamanda Adichie says, we should be telling our own stories, and we don't have to wait for anybody to do that.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to youngsters then, like, you know, growing up now and seeing where you've got to, how you've got there?
My motto is always to follow your heart, your dream, and no one can take that away from you, because it's going to come back. Even if you have so much different challenges, it will come back to you and it will haunt you. So stick at it, no matter what. But also go and get advice from mentors. Look how other people have done things. So seek help.
Absolutely. And did you ever consider like a military career or anything like that, or you were just like?
The thing is, now that I've gone to the RAF Museum and spoken with a lot of people like yourself, I'm like, oh, I could have done that instead of being a flight attendant, cabin crew. I should have gone into the RAF, because you would have got that action background as well. Wow. You'd have traveled the world and you'd have got military training, which is something I like to be active, so I would have got.
Yeah. So what made you become a cabin crew?
Yeah, cabin crew.
And how long did you do that for?
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It was like 3 years. But what made me become it was only because I wanted to be a travel writer. So yeah, I wanted to go around the world, and we didn't have much travel experiences growing up in our family. So. Right.
And I guess you did travel the world in those 3 years.
I was fortunate to get onto long haul. I didn't want short haul. I wanted to go to all these far out places. And so, I managed to get around quite a bit, but still there's loads of places to see. I haven't gone everywhere.
Oh gosh. Yeah, the world's a big place. Yeah. Fantastic. And do you like have footage of these things? You've been a cabin crew and all of that sort of thing. And you know,
it's always changing. Yes, so I had a few things, but you know, you upload it onto your computer, then you get rid of that computer, and I don't know where things are. So I only got photographs. That's the.
Yeah, but that's still good. Yeah, that's still good. That's a part of your life's journey.
Yes.
It's photograph, and you know what they say about a picture.
Exactly. I could have my book when I released my book. Some of the criticism was like, "Oh, it would have been good if you had more pictures in it." I didn't think people would want pictures. So.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people don't particularly like reading. So you have to grab their attention with whatever you publish, right? Yeah. But if there's a picture in there, they look at that picture, and they will take from that picture what they want.
Yes.
So if it's telling a story with you there in your uniform, with your hat on, or whatever way you looked, you know, that is giving a complete difference of Amanda Epic.
Okay.
It's a fact of life. And I've learned that, you know. So if you've got images of yourself that, you know, can enhance whatever you do, use them. Okay. Because people love images, and it's attractive to the eye, because words are just words. And even if they're very important words, you know, you have to draw the public in.
Mm.
And the image is sometimes is what actually do that first and foremost. Then they read into the person.
Right, absolutely.
You
So
know.
even like the front cover of my book, and all books, and people are, that's what's drawn them to it because of the photos. So it is picture.
Also, so you have photos of yourself?
No. So we've got animation, or so of
right.
I'm supposed to be on the front cover.
Oh wow!
Pictures
Wow! Yeah. So if you've got any animation, anything that you want that could supplement this story that we're recording of you, send them, please.
Okay.
And I'll be more than happy to just include them.
Oh, that's lovely.
As a part of your story, because I think it's a wonderful story. And I mean, you're only young, so the future's ahead. So it's like this is part one.
I'm young as a feel. I'm getting into the middle age now.
Well, hey, life is just wonderful,
It is.
And when we have it and we're breathing and we're okay and we're healthy, we just got to look at the rest of the world who they don't have it, they're not healthy, and they're having a lot of problems. So we're going to say a big thank you for that, And
it's a must, isn't it?
Say what?
Gratitude is a must. It's a must, necessary gratitude.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I encourage people to do is to share the recording that we do with siblings, if you've got siblings, with youngsters, if you've got kids and everything, because sometimes we think people know about us and we think we know about people. But when you share something like this, it's amazing when they say, auntie or mom or dad, or I didn't know you did that. And I didn't know this and that, which helps, and it really does actually encourages other people as well to do things that they might not have done.
Yeah.
Just doing that. So yeah, absolutely excellent. Have you got any questions for me, Amanda?
Yeah. So how long were you part of the? Because you're a retired veteran now, isn't it?
Yes. I'm a veteran. How long since I've been a veteran? Is that the question?
No. How long were you in service?
36 years.
36 years. That is an awful long time.
Awful long time.
Ever feel like quitting? I mean, especially at the beginning days, like there's a lot of people when they go into it, I call it institution, they're different. They feel like leaving. And what made you stay so long?
Well, let's put it this way. If I tell you the beginning of it, you probably understand why I stayed, although there are several other reasons. But I didn't join the military because of a friend, a family, or anyone else. It was one of those things that just knocked on the inside of my head and say, I want to do that.
Oh.
And I was about, 15 at school when I said to my teacher, I want to become I didn't even know what to call it. And he said, well, which one do you want to join? And I'm thinking, which one? And of course, you got the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. I didn't know any different.
Okay.
Or the differences between them. So my teacher just gave me the afternoon off, and I went to look at the different careers office. And the Navy, well, I really didn't like to see, to be honest, in terms of being on it all the time. And I subconsciously ruled the Army out. Don't ask me why. I never even considered the Army. I knew all about soldiers and whatever, probably why. And then I knocked on the door of the careers office for the Royal Air Force, and it was just like, wow, this is for me. And the fact that they said I would be working with aircraft and traveling the world, that was just like, it's a
boy's dream, isn't it? It's a young man's dream.
Absolutely. And I lived in a conurbation like the second city, Birmingham, where at one time I was going to work in the dark, and the only daylight I saw was through the window. By the time I was ready to come home, it was dark again, the winter months. So I'm saying there's going to be a better world out there. That's what I said to my head. And there's got to be a bigger world as well. So actually, and I know this interview is not about me, but you know, it's just a question that you asked. So I couldn't wait to actually go and see the big wide world. And my goodness, I never ever thought or dreamt that it was as big as what it was. Because when you are working with fast jets, helicopters, and frontline squadrons, when you're here today, and today you could be the other side of the world because the conflict's kicked off and you've just got to get ready to go. Complete different world, you know. And the one thing that I learned was that I wasn't one of the first Black person to do this in the 70s, because the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now with the Forgotten Generations is because nobody told me that there were Black people here in 1914 war.
Yeah. And
that's the First World War and the Second World War.
It's only coming up now, all of this, isn't it? Well,
yeah. So, you know, there's me in the early 70s thinking I'm one of the first. When like almost, you know, all those years before, there were people coming from Africa, Caribbean, the Commonwealth, you know, fighting in these wars. So they don't educate you to these things, you know. But like, you know, just to answer your question totally, it's just an inner thing that I wanted to do. And when you want to do something and you're passionate about it, the difficulties are there, but you overcome them because you've got a dream.
Because you've got a dream, and it's your calling, because you said it just came to you just like that, 15.
Yeah.
You didn't have that in your primary, so it's in secondary school, and just suddenly one day. And to stick at it, that means that was what you were supposed to do in this life.
Indeed.
And you have served very well for a long time.
And it wasn't easy.
Yeah, you're saying going to war, it's not like you're flying for an adventure to go and sit on the beach. You're going to defend the nation.
Absolutely. And if I may say so for anybody that's watching it, we did go and sit on the beach at times.
Okay.
Because, you know, as a part of serving, especially in my capacity as an aircraft engineer, I worked directly on the squadron. So we used to go off to places like Sardinia.
Oh, nice island. Okay.
Cyprus.
Okay.
Belize. Las Vegas. I mean, talking about a dream.
Exciting.
Right? You know, and you're getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
Because you're going there for a reason, and depending on what type of aircraft you're working with as to what the reasons are, you know. But a lot of it was based on training in various terrains, you know. So as an engineer, you have to go to maintain the aircraft to make it the whole dream come true.
Very important work, otherwise they can't get back as well.
Absolutely. But then there's the other side of it where, you know, Northern Ireland, I spent a year there, the Falklands, 4 months down the Falklands, and you wake up to reality of life. You see that you are in those conflicts yourself, and I was in Northern Ireland, or you go and see what happened before you got there, as in the Falklands, and you have to see yourself to actually appreciate. You have to be on the front line to appreciate somebody telling you what it's like on the front line. Very difficult to do it otherwise, you know. So those are the extremes, you know, but I would encourage anybody who wants to do that as a career to take it up and do it, because it's fantastic.
It'd be interesting if you could get lots of your work in front of our children, African and Caribbean kids at school.
And I do talks, as very much like you saying there, you are a role model and you've helped, especially that youngster, and I'm sure you're going to go on to help others. I do talks in the community. Okay. So I do talks to schools, you know, as young as 4 and upwards, because they're very, very bright, these youngsters. They are, yeah. You know, and I just help them to educate themselves to certain aspects in life. If they want to talk about the military, which is what I've done, I can then tell them that the military is there for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a defense for your nation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will come and abuse you.
Yeah.
Because you can't defend yourself. And a part of that defense is the army on the ground, the navy on the sea, and the air force in the air. You break it down for them so they understand. And I said, for this to continue, you need people, and the people are you. So if you want to have that as your career, there it is.
Yes.
And the path of life takes care of itself, because if life says this is going to happen to you, that is your path of life. And the reason I mention that is because there are a lot of people who said, oh, there's war, there's a front line, I'm going to get injured or whatever. And I'm saying that's not necessarily the case, but the path of life will determine your life.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want, go for it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I'm so pleased and listening to you there, picking up on things that you want to do. And I know it's not easy, but you're going for it.
Got to go for it, yeah?
Yeah. Absolutely. That was a long-winded answer to your question.
Interesting one though, education. Educated more.
Have you got any other questions for me?
I'll probably send them over, when the interview is over, you think, oh, I could have asked this. Yeah.
Yeah.
A few more.
It's just great to interact with people who are ambitious. I'm not saying a lot of people are ambitious, but they don't do anything about it in terms of getting up and go. So when I talk to somebody like yourself who does or do it as much as you do, it's just great to highlight it. So I'm happy to highlight whatever you are doing and going forward. So it's fantastic. And it's also good to hear that you've been in touch with the RF Museum. Is that the one in London? Yeah.
Yeah, Collingwood, so yeah, not too far.
Yeah. So super. All right. So I'm going to say thank you very much. Unless you've got any more questions or anything for me.
No, thank you. Very relaxed. So it's nice talking to you. Very easy going.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. And it's lovely to hear people's stories. And what I've done.
Brilliant. You were in Ireland for 1 year. I can't wait for your book to come out. We need stories from the Black community, because especially in roles like you played.
Yes. Well, okay. So like yourself, I've always been interested in writing. So I've written over 60 poems.
Oh, what poem? Are they to do with your experiences? No. They're
just life poems.
Life, okay.
And I know this interview isn't about me, but
you're a poet as well. Okay, cool. You're a poet.
Yeah, and I have some that's been published, and I've got to say the most well, I don't know if it's the poem itself that's interesting, but the story around the poem is very interesting.
Okay.
Because it became public in the RF world, and then my wife and I went to Washington, D.C. to recite this poem in competition against the rest of the world.
Really?
And then I got back and I got a call from somebody from MOD saying that we've seen your poem and we like it. Do you mind if we send it to the Queen?
Oh my gosh. And this was nothing to do with the RAF, this is just your life poem, yeah?
My wife said to me, can you write me a poem? And that's how it came about, because I just like writing. And
oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and I just got up one morning about 4 o'clock, and by 5 it was done. And it's a short poem, but if you go on my website, on the poetry page, you will see a framed poem on there. And it's got on the top, Her Majesty. And you will see me, yeah, it's framed, and you'll see me in a rubber dinghy, and I'm sailing away across to the world.
Beautiful.
Right. And it is about my wife.
Yeah, it's a story, really.
Yeah, heart to heart. And and it went up to the Queen, and she actually autographed the actual document that it went up to. And I haven't actually gone into the poetry side of things much. All those poems are sitting somewhere.
Oh, you
But the
got to
book,
you got to get this out.
yeah, the book that this is turn around, isn't it? It was interviewed.
Oh, yeah, there's things I want to ask you. So you say you met the Queen as well. There's a few more things, but I'm going to have to speed off in about 5 minutes. But
Yeah, sure.
we can talk
So
another.
the reason I'm answering like this is because the first book is about my life from I was born till 18.
Okay.
The book that you're talking about is my life from 1836 years later. That's the military. So that's the second book that I'm writing.
Okay.
So the first book should be published hopefully by August.
Oh, so that's poetry and mostly and stuff and life.
No. That's a book about my life story up until I'm 18.
Two books.
Yeah. So that's different. So, you know, that's why I'm answering it in that sort of roundabout way. But I don't want this to be about me.
No, you're interesting. You're very interesting, Donald.
Yeah. But it's just great to answer people's question, you know, because you know, everybody's got a story to tell. And that's what I try to encourage people to say. I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about your life dreams and your stories, because it brings it out.
And it should come out. We shouldn't hide these things. Like, you're doing injustice, not only to yourself, to other people. It's not only about you. You need to let people learn from what you've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I never used to like sharing, so I'm clapping for myself to come on your show.
Brilliant. And I thank you very much for doing that, because it means a lot to me to share with somebody like you who is doing that. And hopefully we can continue to share our journey going forward. Yeah. So looking forward to maybe a second episode.
Okay, yeah, that'd be nice.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
Have a lovely day. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and choosing me. Okay, take care. Bye.